asking questions. Sounds like a normal thing to do. Sounds like an important thing to do. I know it's something that our society tends to frown upon sometimes. Like legitimate, thought-provoking, seeking the real truth kind of questions, not the questions that are slanted, loaded towards your confirmation biases, but real questions. They're very important. And it feels like too often certain NFL teams either don't ask questions or maybe they don't ask the right questions. For the Carolina Panthers, there should have been a thought, should have been questions asked about what is the right thing for us to do at the quarterback position heading into 2021. And you might say, well, they answered that question with what they chose. Yeah, but were they asking the right questions? Why is Sam Darnold going to be different in Carolina than he was with the Jets? Why are the Jets trying to move on from Sam Darnold 3 years after drafting him 3rd overall? Why would Sam Darnold come here and be more successful? What infrastructure do we have in place that would make him more successful? What makes us believe that the Jets were wrong and we're confident as a Panthers organization that we've got it right with him and they were wrong and we'll reap the rewards for it? Why would you trade away picks to get somebody else's failed quarterback instead of potentially just being able to sit at pick 8 in the first round and draft your own guy? Like, these are important questions that I don't know that were asked. And if they were, they just made the wrong decisions. Because if you're going to trade for ultimately what was somebody else's failed quarterback, you better damn be right. And we can already say we know that in 2021 the Carolina Panthers proved that they were absolutely ass wrong about Sam Darnold. It's especially important when you pass on other young quarterbacks in the first round because you say, nah, we're good with Sam Darnold. And then you take a fucking corner at 8th overall pick a year after you devoted your entire draft to the defensive side of the ball at a time where the offense only grows in importance. Who in the fuck is the genius involved with this shit? Who in the hell is the genius that runs shit this way? Like, everything is ass backwards logic. Draft and develop your own quarterback? No, you'll trade for somebody else's failed quarterback. Build up an offense to be able to compete and score points in the National Football League? No, it's the 1980s again. Let's just draft all defense. Who fucking does this? I'm going to trade for Sam Darnold after 3 years, but I could take a Justin Fields or Mac Jones and potentially have them for 5 years on their rookie deal. Why in the fuck would you want to do that? I mean, that's how stupid Matt Rhule and the Carolina Panthers are. And the crazy thing about it is, they actually started off the season 3-0. Then reality quickly caught up, and people are sitting there saying, you know what? This guy might be a fucking idiot. You think? Because to start off 3-0 and then go 2-12 the rest of the way. Think about that for a second. 3-0 start. They went 2-12 the rest of the way. That's epic collapse shit. And this is in year 2 of Matt Rhule, not year 1. You've seen absolutely no growth or progress. I don't give a damn what his contract status is. I don't give a damn how many more years is left, how much money is left. At some point in time, you have to cut your losses and realize, oh, this guy's a fucking bozo. Because he is. Now, Sam Darnold sucked. And you can't just blame a Matt Rhule for that. No, instead the organization, of course, is going to blame the offensive coordinator, Joe Brady, and fire him. Because, yeah, he's the ultimate decision maker here that brought in Sam Darnold like a dumb dick. So it's not necessarily Matt Rhule's fault that Sam Darnold sucked. It is Matt Rhule and the Panthers front office's fault for not realizing that it was dumb to trade for Sam Darnold to freaking begin with. It doesn't help that Christian McCaffrey only gave the team 7 games this year. But, you know, that kind of feels like a thing with Christian McCaffrey now. He's going to miss half the season. So, your offense sucked because Sam Darnold sucked because you didn't have Christian McCaffrey for over half the year. Robbie Anderson had a 50% decrease in receiving yards versus 2020. And that was with Teddy as the guy. So that's how bad Sam Darnold and this offense was. Defensively, yeah, you had Hassan Reddick and Brian Burns had, nice seasons as the primary edge rushers for this team or primary pass rushers for this team. But first-round pick J.C. Horn played a whopping 3 games. I mean, you traded for... What have you done? You traded for what? C.J. Anderson? You've traded for Stephon Gilmore? Like, who fucking invests this much in the defensive side of the ball in 2021, now 2022? A fucking idiot does. Oh, Matt Rhule and the Panthers are idiots. I mean, could you imagine? It's just mind-blowing stupidity of epic proportions. Their defense wasn't god-awful, but they weren't very good. They had 8 games where they gave up 27 points or more. I mean, you go freaking 3-0 to start the season, lose 12 of your last 14 games. The Sam Darnold experience was a disaster, but yet the only major focus of firing anybody was the offensive coordinator, Joe Brady. How in the fuck does Matt Rhule still have his job? I know sometimes I can come across as very quick to fire head coaches. That's a fair criticism. But it is also fair to point out that sometimes you've seen enough in 2 years. What have you seen that makes you think Matt Rhule is the right man for the job? What makes you think that he knows what the fuck he's doing? What makes you think that this organization has the proper leadership in place in order to be able to contend in the NFC South? What makes you think that this roster construction is anything other than ass backwards? Right? I'm just saying. And even you go into this offseason, you got a little bit of cap space, but not a tremendous amount to work with. You got some of your notable free agents, include Stephon Gilmore, who you traded for, Hassan Reddick, Paredes on the offensive line. What are you going to do there? I know I've seen some offseason buzz or reports talking about the Panthers. I think, was it Daniel Jeremiah said something about, well, they're locked in on offensive linemen no matter what with that 6th overall pick. And that just shows how stupid they are. No, it's not stupid to think about the offensive side of the ball. No, it's certainly not stupid to think about investing in the offensive line. What's stupid is it's taking until the 3rd draft with Matt Rhule as the goddamn head coach to prioritize the offensive side of the ball in the draft. And then when you're doing that, what's to say that that's even the right position? The number one need for this organization is a fucking quarterback. How perfectly suited, you see some of the reports that came out in recent weeks or days talking about how the Panthers had a deal for Matthew Stafford lined up with the Lions, but they wanted to take a few days and think about it, and those that wait lose, and the Rams swooped in and got the deal done. That is gross organizational incompetence. Thank God for Matthew Stafford. He didn't end up in this shit show in Carolina. Right? But your number one need is not the offensive line. Your number one need is a quarterback. And until you get that quarterback, nothing else is going to fucking matter. Now, of course, this entire draft, this entire offseason, every single energy, effort, and resource should be devoted to the offensive side of the ball. Because their offense is that pedestrian. Their offense is that pathetic. Their offense is that terrible. Their offense is that behind the times. But it has to start with the quarterback. Now, of course, leave it to the dumb dicks in Carolina like Rhule to say, no, well, maybe we do need a quarterback. And then you choose a year that's really bad for quarterbacks. Just saying. Yikes. Maybe there'll be players in the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes. At this point in time, though, if I was Deshaun Watson, I'd say I'd kind of rather just take my money and not play than play in Carolina. Can't blame them. Golly. But yeah, they definitely do need to address the offensive line. I'm not saying that they don't, because they absolutely do, because their offensive line sucked in 2021. But it's not going to matter if they don't figure out the quarterback position. And you cannot possibly be serious about thinking that Sam Darnold's going to be your guy in 2022. The Panthers are a freaking mess. Their roster build is dumb. Their philosophy is dumb. Most importantly of all, their head coach, Matt Rhule, at the NFL level, is effing dumb. If you're a Panthers fan right now, there really isn't much hope for optimism unless you're drunk, high, or out of your fucking mind.